Theme: Fibrous connective tissues. Connective tissues unites a large group of tissues originate from mesoderm mesenchyme. They compose more than 50% of body weight. In contrast to epithelia, connective tissues do not usually occur on body surfaces. Also, unlike epithelia, connective tissues usually are highly vascular, that is, they have a rich blood supply. Functions of connective tissues. Connective tissues realize trophic function, serving as a medium for exchange of nutrients, protective, aiding in the defense protection, mechanical protection also, supporting, providing structural support due to physical-chemical properties of the extracellular matrix, plastic function, repair of the body, and structure-forming function, because connective tissue forms capsules and septa of many organs. Connective tissue consists of two basic elements: extracellular matrix and cells. The extracellular matrix is composed of a hydrated gel-like ground substance with fibers embedded in it. Ground substance resists forces and compression, whereas fibers withstand tensile forces. The water of hydration permits the rapid exchange of nutrients and waste products carried by the extracellular fluid as it percolates through the ground substance. Ground substance. Ground substance is an amorphous gel-like material composed of glycosaminoglycans, proteoglycans, and glycoproteins. The capability of the extracellular matrix to withstand compressive forces is due to the presence of the hydrated matrix formed by glycosaminoglycans and proteoglycans. Also, in ground substance, proteins of blood plasma, water, inorganic ions, lipids are present. Ground substance realizes mechanical, supporting, protective functions, participates in transport of metabolites between cells and blood. Fibers. Fibers of connective tissue can be three types. These are collagen, reticular, and elastic. Collagen fibers. Collagen fibers are composed of tropocollagen subunits whose alpha chains amino acid sequences permit the classification of collagen into at least 35 different fiber types. There are at least 4 categories of collagen: fibril-forming, fibril-associated, network-forming, and transmembrane collagens. Tensile forces are resisted by fibers of the tough, firm, inelastic protein collagen. This family of proteins is very abundant, constituting about 20% to 25% of all the proteins in the body. In this slide, note that the thick fiber bundles are interwoven and they are arranged in an almost haphazard manner. Moreover, each of the thick fiber bundles is composed of numerous fine fibrils that run a parallel course in each bundle. Reticular fibers. Reticular fibers are a variety of collagen fibers. They contain protein collagen of third type and increased number of carbohydrates, which are synthesized by reticular cells of hematopoietic organs and form three-dimensional net. Elastic fibers. Elastic fibers are manufactured by fibroblasts. They are composed of elastin, fibrillin 1, and fibrillin 5, and type 8 collagen. Their properties are elasticity and stretchability. Basement membrane. The basement membrane seen with light microscopy is shown by electron microscopy to be composed of the basal lamina and lamina reticularis. The basal lamina manufactured by the epithelium is composed of the lamina lucida and the lamina densa. The lamina reticularis is derived from the connective tissue component and is responsible for affixing the lamina densa to the underlying connective tissue. Classification of connective tissues. Connective tissues are classified into two big groups: connective tissue proper and specialized connective tissue. Connective tissue proper can be fibrous and connective tissue with special properties. Fibrous are divided into loose and dense. Connective tissue with special properties are adipose, mucous, and reticular. Skeletal connective tissues are cartilage and bone. Cartilage can be three types: hyaline, elastic, and fibrous, and bone tissue can be lamellar and reticular fibrous. Loose fibrous connective tissue. Here in the slide you see loose fibrous or areolar connective tissue stained by iron hematoxylin. Loose areolar connective tissue is found as packing material throughout the body and carries the blood vessels and nerves. It contains many scattered cells of various types, blood and lymphatic vessels, and a loose network of fine collagen, reticular, and elastic fibers. It is widespread throughout the body surrounding vessels and nerves and is found in serous membranes, the lamina propria of mucous membranes, subcutaneous tissue, and superficial layer of the dermis. Cells of connective tissue. Fibroblasts, macrophages, mast cells, adipose cells, pericytes, plasma cells, and white blood cells are present in connective tissue. Fibroblasts. Fibroblasts are the most numerous cells of loose fibrous connective tissue. They synthesize components of extracellular matrix, fibrillar proteins collagen and elastin and glycosaminoglycans. They participate in healing of wounds, development of psychiatrics. Types of fibroblasts. Fibroblasts can be inactive fibroblasts, active fibroblasts, fibrocytes, and myofibroblasts. Inactive fibroblasts are immature cells with low degree of protein synthesis. Active fibroblasts have high degree of protein synthesis. Fibrocytes are old fibroblasts with low functional activity. Myofibroblasts are able to synthesize not only collagen but also contractile proteins. They participate in healing of wounds, reparative regeneration of smooth muscle tissue. Macrophages. Macrophages belong to the mononuclear phagocytic system and are subdivided into two groups of cells: phagocytes and antigen-presenting cells, presenting antigens to lymphocytes. Pseudopodia are present on the surface of macrophages. Macrophages synthesize substances pyrogen, increasing body temperature, interferon, depressing development of viruses, lysozyme, destroying bacterial membrane. Macrophages phagocytose senescent, damaged and dead cells and cellular debris and digest the indigested material through the action of hydrolytic enzymes in their lysosomes. Macrophages also assist in defense of the body by phagocytosing and destroying foreign substances, including microorganisms. During the immune response, factors released by lymphocytes activate macrophages, increasing their phagocytic activity. Mast cells. Another name of mast cells is tissue basophil. Mast cells arise from bone marrow stem cells and function in mediating the inflammatory process and immediate hypersensitivity reactions. Mast cell granules contain metachromatic granules with heparin, histamine, neutral proteases, and many pharmacological agents. These pharmacological agents that are present in the granules are referred to as primary mediators. They are regulators of local homeostasis of connective tissue, participate in decreasing of blood coagulation, they increase permeability of vessels, participate in process of inflammation, and immunogenesis. Adipocytes. Adipocytes are located as groups near blood vessels. Accumulations of these cells form adipose tissue. There are two types of fat cells, which constitute two types of adipose tissue. They function in the synthesis and storage of triglycerides, as well as in producing hormones known as adipokines. Pericytes. Pericytes surround the endothelial cells of capillaries and small venules and technically reside outside of the connective tissue compartment because they possess their own basal lamina. They contain actin, myosin, and tropomyosin, suggesting that they may function in contraction. Under certain conditions, they may differentiate into other cells, including vascular smooth muscle cells, endothelial cells, and fibroblasts. Plasma cells. Plasma cells are derived from B lymphocytes and manufacture antibodies. They are large ovoid cells, 20 micrometers length, and the lifespan is 2 to 3 weeks. Their cytoplasm is intensively basophilic as a result of well-developed rough endoplasmic reticulum with closely spaced cisterna. A large juxtanuclear Golgi complex and a pair of centrioles are located in the pale staining regions adjacent to the nucleus. The spherical nucleus possesses heterochromatin radiating out from the center, giving it a characteristic clock face or spoke wheel appearance under the light microscope. Blood leukocytes. Blood leukocytes are also present in norm in loose fibrous connective tissue. Leukocytes are white blood cells that circulate in the bloodstream. Monocytes. Monocytes are predecessors of macrophages. Macrophages of the all organs are derived from monocytes. Neutrophils. Neutrophils phagocytose and digest bacteria in areas of acute inflammation, resulting in formation of pus and accumulation of dead neutrophils and debris. Eosinophils. Eosinophils are attracted to areas of inflammation by leukocyte chemotaxis factors. Eosinophils combat parasites by releasing cytotoxins. They also are attracted to sites of allergic inflammation, where they moderate the allergic reaction and phagocytose antibody-antigen complexes. Lymphocytes. Lymphocytes can be T lymphocytes, B lymphocytes, natural killer cells. They are present only in small numbers in most connective tissue, except at sites of chronic inflammation, where they are abundant. Basophils. Basophils, similar to mast cells, release the preformed and newly synthesized pharmacological agents that initiate, maintain, and control the inflammatory process. Dense connective tissue. Dense connective tissue contains a greater abundance of fibers and fewer cells than loose connective tissue. Dense connective tissue contains most of the same components found in loose connective tissue, except that it has many more fibers and fewer cells. When fiber bundles of the tissue are arranged in parallel or organized fashion, the tissue is called dense regular connective tissue. Dense regular connective tissue is present in tendons, ligaments, and aponeuroses, fibrous membranes. Dense irregular connective tissue. When the collagen fiber bundles are arranged randomly, the tissue is called dense irregular connective tissue. Localization: reticular layer of dermis, the sheets of nerves, and the capsules of spleen, testis, ovary, kidney, and lymph nodes. Now about connective tissues with special properties. They are divided into three types: adipose, mucous, and reticular. Adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is classified into two types, white and brown. White adipose tissue is widely spread in human organism. It is also called unilocular adipose tissue. Brown adipose tissue is present in newborn and it is also called multilocular adipose tissue. White unilocular adipose tissue. Each unilocular fat cell contains a single lipid droplet, giving the adipose tissue composed of such cells a white color. White adipose tissue is heavily supplied with blood vessels, which form capillary networks throughout the tissue and with nerve fibers. Unilocular fat is present in the subcutaneous layers throughout the body. The plasma membranes of the unilocular adipose cells contain receptors for several substances, including insulin, growth hormone, norepinephrine, and glucocorticoids that facilitate the uptake and release of free fatty acids and glycerol, thereby regulating the metabolic states of the body fatty acid levels. White adipose tissue also produces endocrine hormones. Except adipocytes, macrophages, mast cells, fibroblasts, and lymphoid elements are in adipose tissue. Exchange of fatty acids of carbohydrates and formation of fat from carbohydrates occur in white adipose tissue. During destruction of fat, great quantity of water is formed and energy is produced. Brown multilocular adipose tissue. It is composed of multilocular fat cells which store fat in multiple droplets. This tissue may appear reddish-brown because of its extensive vascularity and the cytochromes present in its abundant mitochondria. Brown adipose tissue is located in newborns in the neck region, interscapular region, behind sternum, along vertebra. Brown adipose tissue is associated with production of body heat because of the large number of mitochondria in the multilocular adipocytes composing this tissue. Reticular tissue. Reticular tissue consists of reticular cells and reticular fibers, which are argyrophilic. It means stained by salts of silver. Type 3 collagen is the major fiber component of reticular tissue. The collagen fibers form mesh-like networks interspersed with fibroblasts and macrophages. Reticular tissue forms the architectural framework of liver sinusoids, adipose tissue, bone marrow, lymph nodes, spleen, smooth muscle, and the islets of Langerhans. Mucous tissue. Mucous tissue are amorphous connective tissue exhibiting a jelly-like matrix composed of hyaluronic acid and sparsely populated with type 1 and type 3 collagen fibers and fibroblasts. This tissue, also known as Wharton's jelly, is found only in the umbilical cord and subdermal connective tissue of embryo. Here you can see the slide of a section of umbilical cord. Numerated by 3 is Wharton's jelly, mucous or embryonic connective tissue. Thank you for attention.